The Consumer Price Index, or CPI as it's commonly known, is like an economic thermometer. It measures the average change in prices that we consumers pay for a basket of goods and services over time. This basket includes everything from food and energy to healthcare and housing, reflecting the typical spending patterns of urban households. CPI is a crucial economic indicator because it reflects the cost of living and the purchasing power of our hard-earned money. A rising CPI means inflation is heating up, and our rupees don't stretch as far as they used to. Conversely, a falling CPI suggests deflation, which can also be problematic. Governments and central banks closely monitor CPI to make informed decisions about economic policy. For example, the Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, uses CPI inflation as a key input when setting interest rates. Businesses also keep a close eye on CPI to make pricing and wage decisions. In short, understanding CPI is essential for anyone who wants to make sense of the economy and its impact on our daily lives. The latest CPI data, released on December 11, 2024, brought some concerning news. Inflation is creeping back up. The headline CPI inflation rate for November 2024 came in at 2.7%, up from 2.6% in October. This marks the highest year-over-year inflation rate since April. Breaking down the numbers further, we see that the CPI rose by 0.3% on a month-over-month basis. This is the largest monthly increase since April, indicating that price pressures are building across the economy. This uptick in inflation has caught the attention of economists and policymakers alike, as it suggests that the fight against inflation is far from over. The question now is whether this is a temporary blip or a sign of more persistent inflationary pressures to come. While the headline CPI number gives us a general idea of inflation, economists often prefer to look at core CPI to get a clearer picture of underlying inflationary trends. Core CPI excludes volatile food and energy prices, which can swing wildly due to factors like weather events or geopolitical tensions. In November, core CPI also showed a notable increase, rising 3.3% year-over-year and 0.3% month-over-month. This suggests that inflation is becoming more broad-based, with price increases spreading beyond just food and energy. The persistence of core inflation is a concern for policymakers because it indicates that price pressures are becoming more deeply embedded in the economy. This could make it more challenging to bring inflation back down to the desired level. Section 4. Drivers of inflation. Unpacking the price pressures. Several factors have contributed to the recent uptick in inflation. On the goods side, we've seen price increases for items like household furnishings and recreational goods. Supply chain disruptions and increased demand have played a role in these price hikes. Energy costs, while they declined less than in October, remain a significant contributor to overall inflation. The global energy market remains volatile, and geopolitical events can quickly send oil and gas prices soaring. Transportation costs are also on the rise, with prices for used cars and airfares increasing. The ongoing semiconductor shortage continues to impact the auto industry, while strong travel demand is putting upward pressure on airfares. Shelter costs, which account for a significant portion of the CPI basket, have been a major driver of inflation. While the rate of increase in rents and home prices has slowed somewhat, it remains a significant contributor to overall inflation. Section 5. The Fed's Balancing Act, Navigating Inflation and Growth. The latest CPI report will undoubtedly be on the minds of Federal Reserve officials as they prepare for their upcoming policy meeting. The Fed has been gradually raising interest rates to combat inflation, but the recent uptick in prices presents a dilemma. On the one hand, the Fed wants to avoid derailing the economic recovery by raising rates too aggressively. On the other hand, allowing inflation to run too hot for too long could lead to more painful economic consequences down the road. The Fed faces a delicate balancing act as it tries to steer the economy towards a soft landing, bringing inflation down without triggering a recession. The November CPI report suggests that the path ahead will be bumpy, and the Fed will need to carefully weigh the risks and benefits of its policy decisions.